Hi everybody, welcome back to Bentley House. I'm Aira, and today we're going to put some battery-powered lights into the Addams family mansion. Some of you guys might remember in my most recent haul video where I went to the Dallas Miniature Showcase that I purchased these lights. They are battery powered and magnetic. Now the one thing I was not super happy about them was that they had a very bright white light. So I'm going to do a little work on them today to try and make their light tone just a little bit warmer because that's what I want in my project. I'm trying to show you. Eventually I figure out that it's easier to show you by turning the light off, but you can kind of see that it's just a very bright white LED looking light. So I did get a comment from someone that said I could use Sharpies. So I'm trying out a brown Sharpie. One good thing about Sharpies is that they're opaque on paper, but they are very translucent on plastic or glass surfaces. So I was hoping this would really just kind of tint it enough to make it a warm light. This is how the brown Sharpie turned out, and it's okay, but I did decide that I wanted to try an orange Sharpie to see if I liked the light a little bit better. Now it is going to be difficult for me to show you the difference on the camera because things always end up looking just a little bit different on the camera, but in the end I decide to go with the orange Sharpie. One thing about Sharpies is the ink colors never really always match, so if you do decide to try this out, you'll probably have to do your own test to see what works best for you. If you are interested in these lights, I will make sure to put a link to the shops I purchased them from in the description box below. So here is the rest of the lights with the orange Sharpie on them, and once I turn it on you really can't tell on camera, but I did have one of the other lights I had not put the Sharpie on yet, and so I'll show you a comparison of the bright white LED lights versus the ones that I put a coat of the Sharpie ink over the bulbs. It was really easy to do, and I do think it just kind of gives it a little bit more of a warm glow to the light fixture. I wanted to do something a little extra when installing these. This is the ceiling of Gomez's office. They do have a really nice finished top part where if you want to just install it like this, it does look really nice. There's no wires showing, but I wanted to create more of a ceiling medallion that would hide the battery pack, and I just felt like it would give it a little bit more of an easier transition into the ceiling. So I'm going to show you how I made those. Now I did go ahead and Sharpie all three of these, but the one that is brass at the top here, it already had a warm LED light to it, so I did not put Sharpie on that one. To start making the ceiling medallions, I'm taking my circle template and I'm going to try and figure out the correct size of the battery packs that I'm trying to hide, and these end up being about 3/4 inch, just a hair less than 3/4 inches. So I know that the inside of my circle medallion needs to be 3/4 inch diameter, and so you can see that I'm just testing it. I'm gonna put it on top of the circle and make sure that that piece can go inside. Once I have my 3/4 inch circle, then I can find a little bit of a larger circle because I do want to create this foam board. This is foam board, by the way. I use a 3/16 inch thick foam board. It's stuff that I can get at the dollar store, and I'm just tracing these circles and then a little bit of a larger circle for the second one. I'm making kind of a stair-step effect. I promise in a second it will make sense, but I'm making sure that my 3/4 inch circle is centered, and then I'm making a larger circle around it. And so these are my two pieces. Both of the center circles are the same size, and then one of them is larger on the outside and one of them is smaller. Then I'm going to remove the paper from the back of the foam board. I got this idea when I was watching one of Tracy's videos where she used foam board for surrounding windows, so I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to check it out. But she just cut her pieces out of foam board and then put some actual decor indentions into the foam, and I was like, hey, I think that can work for my ceiling medallions that I need to make. So once I have my circles drawn on there, I'm going to use a very sharp blade to cut these out. So I hope this makes a little bit more sense now that you can see it. These two circles stack on top, and so the center circles are the same exact size, and then they are kind of stair-stepping down. And right now it's upside down, so you can see me fitting the light in there upside down because that's how it will hang on the ceiling. I'm just making sure that the light and the battery pack all fit inside the center circle. To clean it up and make it look a little bit nicer, I am going to bevel the edge of the foam. Again, I am using an extremely sharp new blade for this, otherwise it's just going to tear at the foam and create holes. I am cutting towards my thumb, which I never suggest, but the foam cuts really easily and I'm going very slow, so I'm very controlled in this cut. But if you do not trust your carving skills, just be very careful with this. It's possible you could probably cut away from your thumb and be a little bit safer, but this is just how I chose to do it because I felt like I could control it enough. I'm also going to bevel the inside edge of that circle, and I feel like it's just giving it a little bit more of a finished edge to the piece. For the larger circle, I'm just going to bevel the outside edge because I do not need to do the inside because you won't see it once the smaller piece is glued on top. So this is how it is looking so far, and I'm testing it once again with all the battery packs are the same size, but I'm just checking it one more time to make sure it's going to fit with any of my light fixtures. So now that I have that completed, I can do what Heather was suggesting in her video, which was to create the indentions and decoration straight into the foam. It's really easy to push into the foam. I have a few different shape metal tools, and I'm just making really simple, easy patterns. I don't really want my ceiling medallions to attract a lot of attention, but I do want them to look nice, so I did put a little decoration around them, and I did that for both the larger circle and the smaller circle. Now I'm going to glue them together with some tacky glue, and I really want to make sure that I line up the center circles so that I don't have any place where my battery pack is going to get stuck when I try to put it inside. The two center circles need to line up so that it's like a straight wall edge on the inside, if that makes sense. Now I'm just going to put something heavy, but not too heavy. I'm just putting a few poker chips on top of this piece. If it's too heavy, it could squish my foam and my design. So I'm just going to let those dry. Ended up making 4 different designs for my 4 different lights. Now I want to cover these with something to just kind of make them a little bit smoother, to smooth out the foam. I am going to give you guys a second to maybe guess what material I am possibly thinking about covering these with. If you've been a part of my channel at all, you might be able to guess. I wonder what it could be. Now, if you said wood glue, you were correct. It is wood glue. I put wood glue on everything. What this is going to do is seal the surface of the foam. If I painted it right now, I would still see the pits from the foam, and it would still be really easy for me to make indentions into the foam. So the wood glue is going to seal it off. It's going to cover any holes or any imperfections and make the surface of the medallion really, really smooth. I'm going to cover the entire thing in a foam. It's not completely necessary to do the inside, but if you want to protect that, you can, because depending on how much you plan on taking the light in and out of the ceiling medallion. Now to me, this looks like a glazed cake donut. Do you guys, those are the best donuts. It just reminded me of this. Probably wouldn't taste like it. Don't try it. But it just reminded me of one of those donuts. Once the glue is dried, it's going to be able to be painted with acrylic paint. If you do not wait for the glue to dry all the way, it's going to act like a crackle medium, and your paint on top of it is going to crack until the glue is completely dry. So if you want a cracked look, you can definitely go for it, but you want to wait until your glue is completely dry. I'm doing these in white, gray, and one of them is going to be black, which is going into the dining room. So you might notice that they are not aged. I am going to do that once they are in my project. That allows me to age it along with the ceiling so that everything blends in together. Now, I created the ceiling for Gomez's office years and years and years and years and years and years and years ago, but I remember this is where I wanted the light for this room. The first thing I'm doing is making sure that it looks good where I want it to go, and then I'm just going to add some tacky glue to get it into place, and then just kind of adjust it back and forth. While the tacky glue is still wet, I can kind of move it around. I don't want to move it around too much because then I'll get glue marks on the ceiling. Then I'm going to use my hand to hold it in place to make sure that it is holding and it's not going to fall. It would probably be a good idea to remove any miniatures from the room while you are doing this in case it does fall, so that glue does not get all over your miniatures. I did not do that, and so I was kind of risking it there, but just if you try this out, remove your miniatures. So this is how the light works. It has a magnet that you glue into the project, and then your light will attach to the magnet once you're ready to put your light in. So I'm going to be using E6000 to glue in this magnet. I want this project to last for years and years and years, and since I will be constantly putting the lights in and out, probably, I want the magnet to stick so I don't ever have to re-glue it. I'm holding it with my forefinger and thumb. Is that a forefinger? I'm not quite sure. I'm using the pointer finger and my thumb to hold it, and then I'm using my thumb to push it up into the hole to make sure that it is touching the ceiling. And then I'm just going to use a pencil to hold it there for however long I feel for it to grab. And then I'm also going to wait overnight for it to dry before I even think about attaching the light to it, because I don't want the weight of the light to pull down the magnet. I showed you there that I used tacky glue. Remember, the ceiling medallion is not holding any weight, so it can be put in with tacky glue. It shouldn't have anything pulling on it. It's just there really to hide the battery pack. And doing this whole thing has really shown me I need to work on my ceilings. Some of them are looking a little sad. Once I know that my ceiling medallions are firmly in place and not going to move, I'm going to use some chalk pastel to age the edges of it, and then also to age it into my project. That means adding a little bit of dirt and grime around the edges where that stuff would have built up. Again, this is another reason it would have been good for me to move my miniatures out of the room and probably protect my floor, because I ended up having to clean chalk pastel off the top of the desk you can see there, so that wasn't very smart on my part. I can also age other parts of the ceiling at this moment, because then they'll kind of match and look like they were collecting the same dirt and grime over the years. So here is the first light going into the project. You have to turn it on before you put it in, and it should just pop into place like magic and be good to go. On second try, I decided to make sure that I didn't hold on to it once I had pulled my hand away, and it's looking pretty good. I'll show it to you with the lights on and the lights off so you can see each light and how it looks. This one is going into the living room. I did feel like some of these were just a little bit long, so I tried to make sure they were over some kind of table. And I'm going to give you an instant replay here of how I carefully took my hand away and did not hold on to it while I was taking my hand out of the project. It works a lot better when I do it that way. This one is going into the dining room. I thought it was the most formal looking of my lights with the glass globes, and these are glass, so really try not to drop them because they could break. And this one's hard to see that it's on with the light on. It's probably the dimmest one, and I don't know why, but still look. I like how it looks. And then Grandmama's, I ended up purchasing it broken. That was my choice. And it's still having some issues. To be honest, I lost the magnet that came with this one. So I have some more magnets on order, but this one is being held in temporarily with tape so that you can kind of see how it looks. I also need to shorten the chain, but don't use tape if you try this. I felt like it was going to fall, so use the magnets. Now, because these guys are glass and breakable, I want to make sure that I have a proper way to store them, because if I am taking them in and out of my house, or I want to work in a room, as you know, they can easily fall if you're messing around in there. I need to store them so that they are safe. So I found one of these just generic plastic drawer things you can get from Walmart, and these divider tubs, and I did check to make sure that they fit inside the tubs. Each one of these like little square boxes is going to contain a light. I figured out I could fit 4 into each drawer, and there's a little space in the back, so that means I can get 12 total lights into this storage container, and I think that maybe should be enough. We'll see. I wish I had a label maker, but I don't, so I'm just going to badly write what room each of these lights is going in, so when I'm ready to put my lights in, I can just grab a container and I know which room this one is going to go into. And I'm just using tissue paper to make sure that my light does not scoot around inside of the container. This one, I couldn't put tissue paper in the bottom because it's such a wide light fixture, but this way I know that it's not rattling around if I do need to move my project. The other ones I could get some tissue paper on the bottom, and that made me feel a lot better that they're protected. So I have all 4 lights in here, including Grandmama's light, which I need to work on still. If I get that one finished, I will probably post a final picture of it on Instagram so that it looks good. It didn't look very good in this video, but I just didn't have the supplies I needed to finish it. The magnet is on its way. And I do have 1 extra battery, so I can put that in the front of my drawer, and my storage should be all ready to go. I do have these cabinets on the bottom of my project, which was built and created so that I could store my Addams Family miniatures underneath if I'm moving the project. So now I have my light storage. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for joining me. Remember, if you're interested in these lights, I put links in the description so you can check out the artisans who made them. I did not make the lights, I just made the way to get them into my project. As I save up money, I will be purchasing more and continuing to install them, so I will keep you guys updated on that. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!